Hey everyone, just a quick video to go through a question that came up on the page there. So Paula Ryan asked a question about, basically it's about meal frequency. So she was saying that obviously one of our rules is that we promote people eating fairly regular meals, maybe every 3 to 4 hours. So the total of a day would be like maybe three main meals and one snack, or three main meals and two snacks, and that's kind of what we've always promoted. And she's just saying, for example, today she had breakfast at 9 and then was too full to kind of snack in between, and then lunch was late, and then it was later on when she was due to have another snack, but she just kind of felt too full to eat. And the question was really about, if you're full, should you like continue to eat? And it's a really good question, but there's a few different answers really. So I'll give a bit of a background or explanation to why we do what we do, and maybe some other factors, because I've kind of changed my thinking a bit on it too recently enough. So like, say essentially the reason why we promote like three main meals and two snacks, the main reason for that is because we find females tend to undereat, and particularly with protein number. And really that's going to be like one of the most important things that we're trying to target with everyone's diet, is really getting like a higher amount of protein into your diet. So the standard we try aim for is like 1.5 times your body weight. So if you're like 60 kilo person, that's like a target of at least 90 grams per day. If you can get above that, great. And that's usually like for anyone that's done the calorie challenge, protein challenge, usually like that's where people find like, that's probably the most prominent difference in terms of like what you're doing with your diet, is like, geez, I actually have to really make an effort to get that amount of protein in. And that protein is best for muscle synthesis, which is basically that act of like rebuilding, repairing, remodeling, like building muscle. That process works best with an even spread of protein throughout the day. So in theory, not that people would, but in theory, if someone had like one meal a day and they had this big massive hit of protein and they had 90 grams of protein in one meal, that's not going to be as effective in terms of digestion and in terms of like using that protein to build muscle, compared to someone that spreads that 90 grams out over 4 meals. So that's why we always try and promote that like 4 or 5 meals, say, habit. Now the other thing to consider is like, it doesn't, like, it's a kind of a cop-out answer, but it doesn't really matter if you have 3 meals, 4 meals, or 5 meals, if all of the things like your calories and your protein and that are accounted for. So if you can hit all your targets in 3 meals, it's not going to make too much of a difference compared to 4 meals, because the totals at the end of the day are going to be the most important thing. But I still feel that it's easier for people to hit a protein number if we spread it out throughout the day and we get people eating more regularly. Now, the other issue is like, a lot of times people have poor habits around meal frequency, and what happens is your body has a certain demand for energy each day, and whether you have a busy day or not, or you eat in the morning or not, your body's still going to come for and demand that energy and calories that you need each day. So people that tend to skip meals in the morning or skip breakfast, like, people, then when your body comes to demand that energy and you get a bit of a craving for food, it's usually later on in the day when meal choices are usually a bit worse than the morning time. So I know this question isn't specifically about breakfast, but I find if people don't eat in the morning or have a light breakfast, light lunch, their body still requires those calories and nutrients, and then people make worse decisions when it's later on in the day. So I would try and get into the habit of trying to eat regularly, and particularly with that protein number, there is going to be a period of time where you feel like you're stuffing yourself a bit with protein in particular. But once you get through that and your body adapts to that and you're like kind of getting used to eating that amount of protein, then you'll wonder how you manage to get by without that, particularly when you see the differences in terms of recovery. So, but like one of the contradictions for that, and there's a lot of contradictions in nutrition, is then you have people talking about intermittent fasting, and it's something that I'll follow a good bit. So that would mean usually like I'll skip breakfast some days. Now, obviously, as a nutritionist, you're like, look, breakfast is a really important meal of the day. Everyone should eat breakfast. You want to get protein into you early. So that's obviously a contradiction. But those people that skip breakfast without a structured approach to skipping breakfast, without like a reason to skip it and a plan to have that meal later on at the day, So like people that skip breakfast tend to be unhealthier because breakfast is a habit that's always been enforced as a good habit. So people that don't follow that good habit tend to not follow other good habits too. So if you have everything, so basically to loop around, if you have everything under control and you know exactly how many grams of protein you're going to get that day, it doesn't really matter to me if you're getting it in 3, 4, or 5 meals. But it's going to be easier for everyone, particularly if you're newer to kind of like maybe hitting a certain protein number each day. It's going to be easier for people to get it over like the higher number of meals, like the 4, 5, and 6 meals, or 4 and 5 meals compared to like 2 or 3. People that try and do it over like 2 meals tend to overeat on those meals. So we'd rather like spread it out a little more evenly throughout the day. So for example, today when you're maybe a little bit full, if that snack is a contributing factor to that certain amount of protein you need to get that day, then I would say like kind of not force yourself, but I would say even if you're full, you should try and eat it. But yeah, it's a good topic to talk about in terms of meal frequency. So hopefully that gives a bit of a bit more of a background, I guess. And any more follow-up questions, just let me know.